OCOT, Drew. This is Firebird Grey Wolf from Native Voices Turtle Island TV. And today I am proud to present a very special guest, Chief Lovell Pierce of the Cape Fear Tuscarora people. Hi, Chief. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Fine that you're here. I mean, you're so brilliant. Your resume is so extensive. It's just unbelievable that I finally got to reach you. My co-host is Fierce Truth Seeker of the Red Road East, my affiliated channel, and also my godson. He admires you dearly.
Hello, good brother.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen so many of your shows, and been watching them for years. So and been friends with you for a long time, and
Yeah.
kind of have a lot of the same circles. Um, I'm honored to be here. I'm glad y'all gave me the opportunity to come here and speak.
And I've been watching your show too when you had it was a talking stick, I think it was called, right?
Yes, I'm going to bring that back. Different
Ah!
name. Oh yeah, definitely. Different name, different direction.
Mm.
It's going to be good. It's going to
I
be
was
good.
just going to ask you
Mm.
that. Why did you give it up? You were brilliant.
Well, 2017, when some of the elders in the area put me in a position I'm in. One of the things was for me to step back from doing that. Being on the front line like that. So I had to let it
Mm.
go. And 2022, I mean 2022, some things has changed a lot around here with our folks, with our kin folks, and it's time to bring that back. Plus, having one of the things with the show that's going to be really different is I have a relative who's a whistleblower. I can't
Oh,
mention his name. I can't say a
oh
whole lot about
no.
him. But yeah. I mean, they've destroyed his life, and he dedicated it to the country, through the military. We're the same age, born in the same month, same year, but he's about 30 days older than me. So he went in right out of high school, and as a ranger, and then all these different other things that they really don't report, that he was involved in. Then he was subject to experiments and all that kind of stuff on his brain, but he was able to break from it, but not without a lot of the residual damage being done to him and to his family. So he can't really talk to me in public because he doesn't want to put that cross mark, that bullseye on me. And the last time I talked to him, I told him, I said, "Hey, cuz, it's already a bullseye on me. From what I see, I'm already being targeted." But it's no joke out there. Dealing with politics and everything that you see going on in the world is not a joke at all. He's he's. I just happen to know someone who's my blood, uh, that's a part of that. Not just looking at CNN and Fox and seeing Snowden and all these other folks in Russia and so forth. I know one. So it's going to be interesting when we start back up.
Well, I myself, I can't wait for it to happen. People really need to be educated out here of different people's struggles, their history, the whole nine yards. And when those
Mhm.
voices are silenced, we really lose something, And you were a forefront person in doing many of these type of shows and little documentaries I've seen of you doing on YouTube, and not too many people are doing it. It's usually
Yes,
from
ma'am.
a white person's perspective, coming in
Right.
and filming someone's tribe and having their narration over the voiceovers over the documentaries, and
Right. Right. Right.
you understand where I'm coming from, and
I
I
I
really,
do. I do.
yes, and
When I
you
started
brought
out,
I'm
Go ahead. I'm
sorry.
sorry.
I said you brought something special to the plate, you know.
Thank
And
you.
I used to do broadcasting years ago, and I gave it up a little bit, family and other things. I was doing programs of Smithsonian affiliated programs and many other things, and researching with my godson, Fierce Truth Seeker, for
Hmm.
30 years. We
It's a long time.
encountered so much negativity with the racism and things. I just kind of stopped myself, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, it was really ugly. I mean, so much blatant racism and not wanting other people to share the blood and the history. It was just, I just got tired of it. But I enjoyed your show so much, and all that you brought forward to us to learn of your people. I'm just going to read a little bit of your medical bio.
Okay.
Lovell Chief Eagle Elk is a massage therapy practitioner, personal trainer, founder of Atasa Martial Arts, Reiki Master, radio personality, author, and went to school for law enforcement. He's been a part of the complementary healthcare community for 20 years. He's worked as a rehab technician and workman's comp strength and conditioning specialist, and he's worked with many chiropractors, physical therapists, and physicians on personal injuries. He's continuing his growth in energy medicine, which he also started with his 2-year course study of energetic vibration acupressure in 2004. Chief, could you tell the audience a little bit what is vibration acupressure?
Yeah. My teacher, he's a Colombian guy. His name is Camilo, out of Charlotte. That's where I was living at. That's where I actually started with the radio and everything on 103 FM. Um, so in Charlotte, I was delving into a lot of different types of energy medicine. And this particular course, we were learning how to use all sorts of dowsing tools. We were learning how to use all sorts of crystals and everything to balance the chakra system. And plus, Camilo is also a fellow martial artist. So a lot of the Qigong and stuff was incorporated into that. During the course, the hardest energy for people to read is the energy from the plants, coming from the plant kingdom. It's very subtle. And you have to, if you take yourself through some of the Qigong, Tai Chi, some of the Kemetic type arts where you're balancing yourself, where you can feel all the resistance in your body, and every time you feel it, you let it go, and you sink deeper and deeper into your root, right? That's when you are able to start sensing all these different energies. Sounds very new age-ish, right?
Yes, it does.
Well, the thing is, the coin new age is just a word, a terminology given to something as old age. That stuff existed so much longer than today. You know, all you have to, if people would just, stop regurgitating what other folks say, they'd see that over in Samaria, in Northern Africa, all through the Middle East and Asia, and all around the world, they've been practicing these mudras and mantras, knowing about the power of the tongue, tones and all this. They know that's not new age. Just because you get a bunch of hippies dancing around a fire and now they're claiming it doesn't make it new age. It's old age. It's ancient. That's all it is. It's ancient. So, and it's just a lack of understanding. But getting back to the SIVA, subtle energetic vibrational acupuncture or acupressure, it's learning how to read people and interpret what their body's telling you. One of the things we had to do was in class, signing documents and stuff, is there's information that I'm going to be able to read about you that you don't want me to know because your body's giving it off. So, when confidentiality is huge. So practicing on the plants is the hardest. If you can communicate and you can learn how to read the plant kingdom, then you can definitely read a human being. You can read them. They're a lot easier to learn. So that's all Siva is. It's grounding yourself, understanding the concepts, the ideology, the philosophy. That it's an ancient. It's global. One landmass doesn't own it, and using that to help people understand themselves better. And then you could give them certain exercises where they can become more balanced. You know, we're out of balance.
Mm.
We're completely out of balance, and even the animals are becoming out of balance. So it's not just us anymore. It's crazy, but that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Where is that art form from? What, Japan, China, India?
Well, my it's out of Colombia, South America. Below the imaginary line, out of Colombia. That's where Camilo's from, and that's where his teachers taught him. And also, one of his teachers is from China. Because he's an acupuncturist. He's a Tai Chi master and homeopathic doctor, and he has a pretty decorated background. So he pretty much took all of his years of experience and training and created this art form called Siva. Because once you understand energy, once you understand the concepts behind energy, then you can kind of take it in different directions, because it's not one is many different paths leading to the same direction, leading to the same goal. That's why a person could practice qigong. This person practices tai chi. This person practices reiki. You're getting similar results, but you're taking different paths to get there.
That's amazing. It seems like it's a little bit related to Reiki. Reiki.
Yeah, that's
It
it.
is
Reiki.
Reiki.
Yeah.
That's what he's
Yep.
saying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I had not a clue that you were into the healing arts. I knew
I didn't
you
know
were.
that
You didn't know either, right?
either. Nope.
I mean,
Well,
he's a very humble man.
when when
And
you when you're dislocating joints and all that, you got to know how to heal it. So,
right. Chiropractic. Exactly,
mhm.
exactly. So, can you tell me a little bit about your role as being a chief and your two nations, Cape Fear Indian, Tuscarora?
Mhm. Um, if you don't mind, I like to take you around from A to Z back to A, give you my journey that got me where I'm at now. Is that okay?
Yes, yes, that's excellent.
Very cool. So, starting in the beginning, um, I grew up in a native conscious area, Lake Waccamaw, North Carolina. Waccamaw. I went to school with, played basketball, football with, hung out with people in the native communities. It's native conscious here. I'm 30 minutes from the Lumbees. I'm about 40 minutes, 45 minutes from some other Tuscarora communities. I am 15 minutes away from the Waccamaw Siouan. We all went to school together. If I go south, since I'm in the Wilmington area, if I go south, I'm about 35 minutes away from Chief Hatcher, and that's the Waccamaw, South Carolina. If I go north, I'm about an hour away from the Kahari. So this is a native conscious area. North Carolina has the largest indigenous population east of the Mississippi. It's a conscious area. Now I live in what's called a Black community. If you don't live in what's called a native community, then you're in a Black community. There's not really, I would in this area here is rural, so it's not like being in Charlotte or any other metro area where you have mixed communities of Asian and Spanish and on and on and on. It's pretty cut and dry here. We have a lot of people of different Spanish populations here today, but when I was growing up, it was either Black, white, native. That was it. So I grew up in a Black community, but even though I grew up in a Black community, My parents always told me, said, you know, you're just as Indian as so and so and so so and so and so. Because see, when my dad was growing up in his age, in his generation, he would tell me that in certain households, you know, throughout a specific community, which I don't want to mention here because I don't want to put anybody on blast, um, you may have a household of 5 siblings. Three would claim native, the other two would be black, all in the same household. That's just how it is here.
Yeah,
Um,
a lot
one
of
of
places.
my yeah, and one of my relatives here, we call him Uncle Tom, Uncle Thomas, just passed away. He's a very light. He's a light skinned person, um, green eyes, and he grew up in Buckhead, which is one of the main. It's the main area for the Wakamasuan. And you know, his words was, see, when he was little, his parents moved him away from there, along with his siblings. They moved out of Buckhead. They moved on the same road, Blacksmith Road. They moved from the native community a little further around the bridge. Now you're in the black community. He said, I was an Indian, and then overnight I became a nigger. You know, and that was his words. He just passed away not too long ago in his late 80s, and he was just being real with me. You know, not holding anything back. Another cousin of mine, my cousin Charles, that's my grandmother. My grandmother was his aunt, even though he was older than my grandmother. The families here is crazy the way everything is mixed up. But anyway, cousin Charles was a very light skinned person, green eyes, but he was in a NAACP. In my early 20s, he was trying to get me involved, but see, I was a little radical minded back then, and I was like, nah, they're not ready for me. You know, and I said, why are you? I said, why are you in there? I said, you're Indian. Why are you in there? He said, well, there's not too many places for that gives Indians a platform, and the NAACP can speak for both. He passed away at 94, 95 years old, and that was just wisdom speaking that a 21-year-old couldn't understand at that point, you know?
Right, right.
So so my parents, grandparents, my family always spoke about our native ancestry, but they didn't hold us to it. They didn't participate in it. Back in their days, a lot of the elders moved out of native communities for seeking mill work. They was following the work. A lot of resentment was created out of all this movement and stuff, and plus going into the black schools, which eventually became integrated, because it seemed like, okay, if we make this move following the work and following the schools, we're going to get better education and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of resentment. So back in the 50s, the native communities were seeking federal recognition around here, and some of my other relatives was leaving the communities. They were more concerned with, you know, trying to put food on the table for their kids. So it was a lot of fragmentation going on in the 50s. So the communities that stayed and they were trying to get federal recognition, they drew a line in the sand, because what did the Bureau of Indian Affairs say? One drop of black blood means you're black. So they drew a line in the sand. They said, okay, we're not Negro. So they had to separate at all, I mean, by any means necessary, separate from anything that can identify you or mistake you as being Negro, even if you are communicating or participating in any kind of events or functions with your relatives who are in black communities that might mistake you for being black. So that separation had to be drawn in the 50s. My thing is today in 2022, I understand that back then. I understand that back in the 50s and the 60s. The climate was different then. You had to draw that line in the sand if you were going that route for recognition through the government, because they weren't giving you any room to maneuver. You either this or you're that. So you had to separate. But in 2022, with the age of information and all that we have now, knowing that my grandmother and your grandmother are the same grandmothers, we have the same aunts and uncles, and we know how we became divided, but you're still going to stick to that 1950 ideology, that doesn't fly with me. You can't solve 1960. You can't solve 2022 problems with 1960 ideology. It doesn't fly with me. So I don't, I have little patience for them now. For anybody that holds on to that. That's why I was asking you about the French words. Because sometimes grandmama didn't talk nice. Sometimes she had to talk where you can understand it. You know, a lot of
Right.
people, a lot of people like to talk shit, right?
Yeah. That's
What's
what it is.
attracted to shit? Flies,
Flies.
right?
Right.
Right. So I like to say those are the minority, though. Those are the minority. The majority of the people are not attracted to that mess, but you do have those who are. Those are the flies who's attracted to shit. And when flies land on shit, what happens? It creates maggots.
Cat maggots, right?
Exactly. That likes to feed on death. So that's I when I look at folks like that, I pay them little or no attention. A lot of them attack me, or you're this and you're that. you know, they try to get reactions out of me, and I don't give it because I am not a dog. Jerk the chain. I'm not going to be a knee jerk reaction. I'm a tactician. I'm a martial artist. I give you two different responses. I'm either humble, I'm gonna break your neck. Most of the time, I don't go to violent. I've learned how to not be so reactive. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
And people want to get those responses out of you because that gives them more energy to keep doing what they're doing. I'm not
Right.
going to feed
Right.
in. I'm not going to feed into that. You can
Right.
debate by yourself. Look in the mirror and debate yourself because I'm not a player in this game, this color
Right.
game.
Right.
Black, white, red, brown, tan. That's all a game. I have relatives who look white. I have relatives who look what's called African American, tan, brown, dark brown. I have family who look mulatto, who look Spanish. We span the spectrum. My fourth great grandfather is Irish. Can't look at me and tell it, but I have his chin.
Right.
I have his chin. My granddad is an Irishman. I'm not claiming to be Irish, but I have the ancestry. But when it comes to indigenous American ancestry, people feel like they have a monopoly on that. Oh, you can't be this. You know, my I got off track for a sec. So my family's always talked. Period. It's a lot that they didn't know, but the crumbs that they did give me got me to where I am. So let's fast forward some years into the future, and now I'm living in Charlotte. And when I'm in Charlotte, now I'm wanting to reconnect with my native ancestry, you know. But before I really got involved in that, I started to study with these Hebrew Israelites, and some of these some of these groups and organizations is very embarrassing when I see them out there, with the loudspeaker and the things that they're saying. Back in the day, Donahue, if y'all remember that. It's
Yeah.
it's embarrassing. I don't, I was in it for the information. I wanted to learn. I went from that into metaphysical Hebrews. So those Hebrews I was with couldn't stand these folks because now these folks over here are more metaphysical. I went from the metaphysical Hebrews, left them all together, and I eventually went to Shalom Park and I started studying with the rabbis in the Reform Temple Bethel. I started studying with the Jews from Israel over there. I had a lot of behind closed door talks with a couple of the rabbis who I had really good relationships with. I started studying with the Lubavitch, getting into Kabbalah, the K Kabbalah, knowing the difference between the Q, Kabbalah, studying
Yes.
mysticism
Yes.
and all of that with them. Then I went from them and I met some Moorish guys and I started studying with their information there. I'm not joining anyone, but I'm learning from all of
Learning.
you.
Learning.
I'm
Yeah.
learning, right. So I'm learning. Then, one thing led to another. I'm ready to leave Charlotte, reconnect, but I know my folks down here really don't want to accept me. So I started searching online, looking at Native communities, and I found the folks in South Carolina called Yamasee, right? and they had a census record that had one of my family names on there. And I said, They said that if you have any of these names, then we're related. So I took them up on that, contacted them. I got a job down in Georgia, by the way. So getting in contact with them actually all fit because they offered me the opportunity to stay down there with them while I was working in Georgia, which wasn't that far apart. So it all worked out. I stayed there for a year, and I got to learn some different experiences. But at the end of that year, I told them, the whole time I've been here, I've been trying to connect you to my family, and there's no relation. I'm leaving, going back to North Carolina. Some of them didn't like it, but some of them understood. And we just left it at that. And I just left and I came back home. When I came home, spending about a week later, down in the Waccamaw area, I told my kids, I said, y'all want to take a day trip to Charlotte? Because we weren't living in Charlotte. When I moved back home, I moved to Lake Waccamaw area. But I wanted to take a day trip back up to Charlotte where we used to live. I said, yeah. So we got on 74, 76 heading west going to Charlotte. And I looked at my son about 45 minutes later. I said, son, isn't that a Tuscarora reservation right in this area? He said, I don't know. I said, well, hurry up and Google it just in case we're close to it. Tommy Googled it and pulled up the GPS on it. We came right up on the exit, just like that. We was just right there on the exit. So I heard and jotted off. I went over to Tuscarora Nation, and I went over there to Chief Leon's house. And lo and behold, I knocked on the door. My cousin, he's an elder. He's the pipe carrier for Tuscarora people, answered the door, looking like my granddaddy. So
I saw him on YouTube.
Yeah. So we started talking, and he asked me, where have you been? I said, well, I went down to South Carolina. I was staying with so-and-so and so-and-so. He said, have you lost your mind? Your people's here. Why'd you go down there? And I said, my people here seem like they don't want me. So I went where the arms was open to me, went down there, but I'm back, One thing led to another. Some of the elders voted me in as chief,
Wow.
and we've been moving forward ever since. I think it was 2018 when we became a part of FANA with Chief Two Hawks and Chief Fire River and all the rest of the nations there. And we've been moving forward ever since. Really quick, and I know I'm taking up a lot of time talking.
No.
We are the Cape Fear Band of Scurure and Wokan Indians. The Cape Fear Band of Scurure and Wokan Indians, but we are contemporarily known as Cape Fear Indians. Mouthful. I got an event tomorrow where I'm gonna have to explain this because we have a relative in Wilmington that has signs everywhere that says Cape Fear Indians, and people don't know what Scurure means. Wokan is now Waccamaw, or they're extinct. Cape Fear Indians extinct. So I have a lot of explaining to do, and we've been doing good actually with the resurrection. Like I said at one of our events, I said I'm not a ghost. My family they are who they are. And whether you like me or not, my family is who they are.
Verrazano said, as you can see, Verrazano encountered many up the East Coast, starting at the Cape Fear, saying they looked black like Ethiopians. Mm-hmm. So you mean to tell me that the Bureau of Indian Affairs doesn't know that this history was written?
Well, I want to expound on that a little bit. Some people have come after that and have written articles trying to explain away the complexion by saying they use like char and different things on their skin and rub bear's grease on it to protect them from the elements which turn their skin black. That's not what Verrazano said.
No, that's not what he said.
Intellectual somersaults.
I'm serious. But on the flip side, some people don't want to hear this information. In pre-colonial America, yes, there was Africans here, pre-colonial. but there was Turks here. There was Moors, there was Egyptians. It's all in the more sundry. I mean, South
Yes.
Carolina had communities of Turks. My ancestry is a part of that through one of my granddads. His ancestry spans the Middle East to North Africa. That some of the tribes here claim him. And I'm not going to call his name because I don't want to hurt their feelings when they find out. But they're going to, but they will, they're going to find out eventually because the information is going to be published. It's just not, it's too early yet. It's too early right now. And I'm tactical. At least I try to be with what I do, not, put the cart before the horse. There's nothing wrong with him having Middle Eastern, North African, and there's nothing wrong with that. They've made Africa into like a kryptonite, like it's the most disgusting thing ever.
Exactly.
They've made that like it. But see, here's the thing: the chief of the Cherokee of Oklahoma, of the Cherokee Nation, got up and proudly proclaimed his Irish ancestry, which I share with him. But he proudly proclaimed his Irish ancestry. He made connections with his Irish ancestry in Ireland. And because of that connection that he made with them, now he's benefiting, and the nation is benefiting from having that link to Ireland. A lot of people who look like you and I, who may have ancestry, South Pacific Asian. You know what? I'm not even going to go nowhere else. Let's just say Africa, because that's what's meant. That's what the Bureau of Indian Affairs. That's what they highlight: African. So let's just stick with that. A lot of people ignore any type of connection there because they are really stuck. It's hard to shake that colonial mindset of being better than them, being prettier, better looking than them, smelling better than them, having better everything than them. We're better than them. That's the attitude. The Kosayan people left that continent at a very early time and went worldwide. And you find skeletal remains, fossils of them all over the world. Now, I'm not saying I descend from them. I'm just telling you what the archaeologists and scientists and everything that they have shown, what they have dug up, what the radiocarbon dating of the bones and everything. I'm not making it up. I don't have that type of science in my background. I'm just studying the research of the researchers and of the scientists. They put it out there, and then you get hated on when you show the information. There's nothing wrong with having an admixture. It doesn't make you less indigenous.
I just said that on the last live we just did.
Really?
I sure did.
People can't see past their own nose. They're very short-sighted, no vision. They're full of hate and full of trauma. The trauma of selling slaves, being slave catchers. I mean, it's so 2022. There's so many outlets where you can get out of this little box that you're in, called your community, and spread your mind around the world so you can get a well-rounded point of view and perspective of the world. It's not what your little community says it is. It's broader than that. In America, there was two different type of indigenous folks here. The ones, and so what you see on social media today is the Aboriginal and the Mongoloid. That's what everybody wants. Those are the arguments. And they start all these, they start all these groups, and everybody. I can't stand those. I can't stand being in those arguments and groups, and then you got people from the Machikas, getting in groups and trolling. It's madness. It's crazy.
We fought them for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a fight that and it produces nothing.
Nothing.
It produces not
Talking
one
loud
thing.
and saying nothing, right?
I
Well,
mean, you have a potential collapse of the you have everything that's going on in the world, but everybody wants to prove who was on first and
yeah,
who was on second and who was on third. You
I
know,
think
and
dollars.
it gets you and yeah.
I think it's a lot has to do with money as well, and land claims and casinos. You know,
Right.
you spoke about going to Charlotte, but a lot of people don't know that was an actual town for selling Indians. You know, putting them into slavery in Charlotte.
Hmm.
You know, and a lot of people don't know that the
Yeah.
Yamasee War ended Indian slavery as we know
Mhm.
it. You know, so it's so
Yep.
much stuff that we could be talking about and concentrating on instead of who's better than who, and who's an Aboriginal um, compared to being indigenous, when they actually mean the same thing. Indigenous, Aboriginal, the first people.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
we're fighting over.
Can I share something with you about
Sure,
can I share something with you about the Carolina Wars?
go
Um,
ahead.
Mhm.
That's why you're
one of
here.
my teachers, so one of my teachers, Soki Childress, told me, he says that everybody, because he knew, he said, okay, you're coming from the American Indian perspective. He said, but I want you to realize this. Everybody, including your people, everybody. He said, my teacher is from Soki. He's passed away now. He's the same age as my dad, but he's passed away a couple of years ago. He's from Poughkeepsie, New York. Another kind of fair-skinned brother there, very conscious. I told him one time, I said, I think you're more than just my martial arts teacher. I said, you more like a guide. He wasn't a Christian, or he didn't prescribe to any particular religious belief, but he was conscious. And he had some of the Sanskrit writing on his arm, tattooed on his arm. He was a conscious guy. And he said, I want you to always remember this. Everybody has their own shit and nobody's free of it. And basically what he's saying, everybody has baggage. I wanted to say something about the Carolina Wars and the Yamasee. The Yamasee, that war was a pivoting point with Indian slavery, but the
Mhm.
Yamasee wasn't free from slave catching. When they came to North Carolina, they came up with General Barnwell, which there's
Yeah,
a town in South Carolina down there by Allendale now called Barnwell.
yeah,
They came up with him, and there were some others, in South Carolina. There was called a lot of them were called the settlement Indians. But anyway, when they came up into this territory here, they came up to Fort Neuruca, and the Yamasee helped them burn the fort down and murdered over 12 1,200 people. And the stories that a lot of the elders tell is about the women, the resilience of them, how to their last dying breath was still fighting while they were still burning. The
wow,
fort was one of a kind, with underground tunnels and all of that. And in return, one of the things that Barnwell gave the Yamasee, said, because the Yamasee said, can we have some of them as slaves? Barnwell said yes. So when they went back into South Carolina with us, Barnwell and the Europeans then turned on the Yamasee, and then that's when the Yamasee War started. And
yeah,
then that's when the whole slave trade and stuff kind of took a dive. But
hmm,
everybody had dirty hands.
yeah,
Everybody had dirty
everybody.
hands, because
Hmm.
I just want to give a balanced story to it, because I see a lot of people, when they talk about Yamasee, they say, oh, well, they fought against slavery and they did this and that. Well, they fought for it until
It
they
worked
got double
against them.
crossed, and then they fought against it.
Yeah, yeah. My enemy is
Yeah.
your.
So, and yeah, and I'm not just pointing the fingers at them, because I have family who own slaves, who owned slaves before.
Mm-mm.
So I say this to say that everybody's got some dirty hands.
Yeah.
It comes to a point where you have to
Mhm.
accept history, you have to accept genealogy, and you have to accept your place in it. You can't change it. You can lie about it, but the truth is always going to stand, regardless of if you try to change it up. You don't have to accept us being here. It's not going to change the fact that we were, and how, you know, it's just crazy. It's crazy. I almost just want to
I know.
go run
I
away
know.
somewhere and just leave people alone, because people are crazy.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Fierce Truth Seeker, can you
I'm
read?
I want to build. Go ahead.
I was going to
I
ask
think
you.
you're kind of pixelating a little bit. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear
Yes.
you. I was asking True Fear
Okay.
Seeker if he could read the comments.
Sure. Let me scroll up a little bit. And while I'm getting ready to do that, Lovell, is your event tomorrow? Is it going to be a something streamed on social media?
Wow. Would you mind please repeating that, because everything is, you sound like a transformer right now, like you're
Oh,
getting ready to turn
okay.
into Bumblebee.
Yeah. Your presentation that you're going to be doing tomorrow, is that going to be something
Uh-huh.
streaming on social media?
Oh, unfortunately, it's not an event that we're hosting, and we're just participating in the Founders Day event. So we're going to have a table and booth set up. We're going to do a song. I'm gonna give just a very brief presentation on us. It's going to be short, short, short. It's yeah, we're not hosting the event, so we're just taking a part in it. So I don't think it's going to be live streamed, but I'm gonna have my daughter out there with the camera taking some video and pictures that I can upload, so you can see a little bit of what was going on.
Did you say you're going to be singing?
My sister is. I'll be drumming. You don't want to hear me sing.
Yeah, I'm going to read some of these comments and then want you to
I
talk
have
about that.
a couple of little videos to show.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to read the comments and then we want you to talk about that drumming a little bit too. um,
All right.
so we have Akeem Alyene. He says good evening to everyone. And we have Lil Mayhem, Wild Indian TV, says Oshio. And Lil Mayhem also says, he says, hey, I had questions about the Cherokee that lived in the upstate of South Carolina, the 864 area, and tribal roles. I don't know if that was towards Lovell or towards Firebird.
I think it's to Chief Lovell because that's, Cherokees are there as well.
Yeah, today the only Cherokee organization was by Chief Moreau, who has since passed away. It wasn't a tribe; it was a state recognized organization, though. And I don't know if his organization is still going, is still standing. I don't know if his sister took over after he passed. I don't know, but if you look up Moreau Goings, Cherokee Moreau Goings, and see if you can pull anything up on him in South Carolina. I know they're active in Georgia. I haven't really heard any good things about them down there, but I know they're active down there in Georgia. South Carolina, yeah, that's a big question mark there. It was only an organization there through Moreau Goings that I know of.
Could you read Brooklyn Lady?
Yeah, I was just about to read that. Okay. She says, she asks, is the Tuscarora related to Lumbee?
Lumbee is related to Tuscarora. It's and the reason why I say it that way is because the Tuscarora has been here for a very, very, very long time. A lot of people really don't know the history of the Tuscarora, and I only know what the elders have taught me. And based off of what they taught me, I've done more digging to just confirm and to further expand on it. But the Tuscarora and the Cherokee share a very close relationship, and both of them share a very close relationship with the Hopi out in Hopi land, and then that's going to take you into Atlantis and all that, and what is it, the flood and all that kind of stuff when we're living underground. But the Cherokee, I'm gonna tell you, lots of times it was a code word because
Mm-mm.
in North Carolina, um, the governor of North Carolina back in the 1700s, they appealed to Virginia to come down here and to help exterminate all of us that was left. The ones who left and went to New York have become the federal tribe, but more of us stayed than those that left. But the ones who stayed had to blend into other communities. If you could fit into being white, that's what you did. And if you were very fair complexion, then that's the way you married, because you wanted to lighten your kids up, and until they can fit into white society. If you were mulatto, that was still better than saying you're Tuscarora. You're just a light skinned black person. So you either black, you're white, or you're Cherokee. Cherokee was not an enemy at that time, but the Tuscarora were being sought after to be exterminated. And South Carolina even said if any of us was caught down there trying to rescue any of our people who was taken into slavery, they would kill us on the spot. So the Carolinas was very hostile to us at the time. It was very hostile. Um, the Wokan people were a part of the Tuscarora Confederacy. I don't think I ever hit on that yet. The Wokan were a part of the Tuscarora Confederacy. So you had Upper and you had Lower Wokan. We inhabited both sides of the Cape Fear River. So on the lower side of the Cape Fear River, everyone became known as Cape Fear Indians. That became a legal name for us, Cape Fear Indians. So you have three different names describing the same people, and it gets confusing, and your historians, they just go crazy when they try to interpret this stuff instead of asking us about our own history. They
Right.
want to go off of John Lawson, and this is something right here. I got to say this. John Lawson John Lawson was a Englishman. He was a surveyor sent here to divide the land, right? So when he was surveying the land and dividing the land, he got to know some of the people. While he was getting to know some of the people, he's trying to learn the language, just enough to communicate. Now, just like Cherokee and all the various different tribes, there's certain sounds, there's certain things that we say that there's no English character to mimic the sounds that we make in our language. So to say that John Lawson and his interpretation and his list of words is flawless and without mistake is being naive. And then these same historians that I talk to that just want to lean to John Lawson, I say, well, why don't you ask us, since we're the ones that you're talking about? And
Right.
and
Right.
I said, when it comes to the Tuscarora people, I said the history is unbroken. We still got the a language from A to Z. We still got the language. We still had a ceremony. We still have everything. It wasn't lost at all. I said, and a lot is in is oral tradition. Well, that's hearsay and mythology, and we can't go off of that. I get it. I get it. You want to stick to someone who looks like you, who wrote history, and plus you don't want to recant the books that you wrote. And now you've been on PBS and all these shows, and little old me, I'm not a professor in college, you know. So who am I to tell this professor that his writing has errors in it? So I get it. But yeah.
Chief,
Hmm.
Chief, Fierce, can you read Charity Campbell's questions? She has
Yep.
two.
Yeah. Did all Tuscarora go to New York after the war?
No, not all of them did. Some did. Most of us stayed, and we became blended. Today, now, some of the folks up there are looking into their ancestry and noticing that they are related to us down here. There was a hard effort to disprove our existence in North Carolina by the Tuscarora up there in New York. There was a strong push for that. But from what
Wow.
I'm hearing, yeah, from what I'm hearing though, There's some of the traditionalists and even some of the younger ones coming up now. They're looking into the ancestry and they're wanting to make the connections with their family down south. So, you know, I'm going to stay optimistic that some point in the future, everybody won't stay stuck on being, you know, perpetuating this insanity. You know, we all do not look the same. Some of us went left, some of us went right. Some of us practice this religion or in this particular political side, you know, left wing, right wing, same bird. Whatever path our families decided to take does not destroy our roots. You know what I mean? It doesn't destroy the roots. We have the same grandparents, the same aunts and uncles, and so forth and so forth. I'm only interested in talking to those who have like minds, who are interested in unifying instead of perpetuating the genocide from within. I have no time and tolerance for that.
We,
I
we
hope that
have.
answers. I hope
Go
that
ahead,
answers it.
Chief.
Exactly.
No, I just say I hope that answers the question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 more questions, and then I have to show this video, and then I want to ask the chief about his book.
Okay. So Jeremiah Myers asks, he says, I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. We have the American Indian Center down South Broadway. The Lumbee tribe in the Piscataway tribe are here, but that's all they talk about. What about the other tribes' names?
I was, you know, there's I think Piscataway, and I don't remember the others that's indigenous to that area. Um, Baltimore getting closer to Philly, then you're looking at the Lenape and the Delaware and you know some of the other tribes up that way. The Tuscarora Trail out of North Carolina led through that entire pathway. There's many Tuscarora people in Pennsylvania, you know, all over Pennsylvania. I met relatives in Massachusetts. I was raised, you know, when I was little in Connecticut. We have family all over New England. There was a lot of migrations going on, you know, from the 1800s all the way into the 1900s. You know, there's just a lot of migrations going on. As far as seeing what tribe, um, if your family history, your grandparents, great grand, and so on are from that area, I would look and see what the indigenous tribe of that area is. If that tribe is active, I will reach out to them. If they are open, if they're open-hearted towards you, great. Start building that relationship. If not, start your journey and start learning and teach your family who the indigenous tribe is. See if you connect to them. There's been people thinking that they connect to tribes and find out that they weren't even indigenous at all. You know, there was a magazine put out. It said 98% of African Americans are in fact Indians. I couldn't go with that because I knew better. I don't know 98% of African Americans to make a statement like that, and I'm not going to put myself out and say something about somebody I don't know. Some folks have Polynesian ancestry. Some people have more Filipino, you know, ancient ones. And, you know, some people don't have African ancestry and some people do. So do your genealogy. There's DNA tests. Man, just do your work. It's not easy, and it's time consuming. You get a headache. Your eyes will go crooked, but it's the work that you must put in if this is the path that you're supposed to be on, and accept whatever comes back. That's my advice to you.
I agree.
We have to hold the last question. I have to show this video because Chief Pierce is on a time limit. Okay.
We can go ahead. I'm good, Ursula.
Okay, but I'm going to show this video of your views and how you feel about situation. It's actually a poem.
Okay.
The universal powers within. My ancestral tongue is more powerful than your sword and mightier than your pen. So you may find the next few verses to sound coarse, straight, no chaser. What do you expect when you weaponized your pen and your eraser? You said I'm extinct, but I'm here. I'm in the flesh. I'm real. I'm not a ghost. My people have always been here in the swamps of the Carolina coast. You think we're simple? Our land, you couldn't wait to take it. What you call simple, we simply call sacred. You call simple things inferior because you didn't make it. No. It's people like you in positions of power and influence who successfully rewrote history by writing us out of it. And because of this, you're proud. When we try to express our uniqueness, meekness, and historical and cultural completeness, they say, get your head out the clouds. But I'm eagle. The clouds is where I fly. I soar next to the sun, and at night the moonlight's in my eye. On the pages of their books, they changed our race and took our looks. They rewrote history, making us the white man's burden, turning us into sheeple, while the mighty white man continues hurting. They changed us from warriors to wimps, from men to drug dealers and pimps, from healers to witches, and from women to bitches, from proud of your family name to loud with no shame, from standing upright to slouching with no fight. Docility is your tranquility. Ignorance is bliss. Blue over red pill, still you have no ability. From being a father to your child to being absent, and that's putting it mild. And mothers not seeing the need of a man because society said it. The government is more than happy to discipline your children if you let it. Cops killing kids, red, black, and brown. Kids killing cops as a way to be down. And now with open season on the full brown spectrum, blacks, Africans, Hispanics, and Indians are the victims. So when we see police, automatically, the bad ones, we expect them. It's time to turn the tables from reactive to proactive and put our boots on them, in them, and up the rectums. Kids full of anger, but this anger is misdirected. This leads to racial profiling, as you have already suspected. Education is the key, but not from their books. So if education is the key, where do I look? Try your ancestors, your elders, and your family to start. Others who are on this path is a good place to start. Paper trails because paper tells, but paper fails if paper tells. That's a play on words and spelling. Can you see me? Because you have eyes and ears, but I'm really talking about the eye that doesn't shed tears, your third eye. See, one tale is religious myths, one tale is spiritual gifts, telltale signs of perverted minds. Thinking divinity, divine, belongs to only one kind, really? For example, if you believe in Jesus, then you'll be saved, or if you accept Muhammad, then you've got it made. Or only Torah can cure mankind, or maybe the Buddhists are the only divine. Sikhism, Taoism, didn't man start this walk? If they were all from God, would we even be having this talk? I love my family regardless of their belief, but unfortunately, your belief has caused much grief. Separating family through politics and religion. On the East Coast, we can easily see this division. Especially in the Southeast, you can easily spot this beast. But at least some of us are trying to reunite and come together and feast. Everyone can't be right and claiming the other wrong. So please realize you're stuck in a loop of the same lame song, repeating history through ignorance of self, giving away your power, material wealth, and sacrificing your health. Yep, the dark side requires sacrifice. No joke. That's why our ceremonies required some smoke, hemp, tobacco, and all mother's plants given to heal. This is my stance. Tobacco was healing before Europeans. Now it's toxic to all human beings. Hemp was used for clothes. and medicine, no lie, but they've turned it into the evil weed that only makes people high. The indigenous way is the only play. So to save our mother from erosion and decay, to save our kids from the pitfalls of every day and the perpetual genocide we face every day, I choose the native way because my children are too important to me to look the other way. I love my children and my family is up top. My nation is my station before my next stop. In the spirit world and other dimensional planes. But while I'm here, my job is to help balance the insane. Some will see and some will hear. Some will love and some will fear. Where you find the language, the people are near. By the way, our mantra is we're still here. I don't know about you, but I consider that a major strike. My existence and my persistence is my show of resistance. I speak, I write with my ancestors, and I walk. Language is the key. We're not extinct because I talk. My sacred tongue, spoken word forever, as I wear my eagle hawk and my turkey feather. I hope.
Oh.
Woo! Thank you.
Hey, I ain't know you did spoken word, bro.
Man, there's a history there too. I used to have my little notebook with my I had my notebook with my raps and all that stuff in it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
There's 2 more questions. You like to
Okay.
answer those for Chief, if you could read it?
Sure. Okay. Lil Mayhem asks, do you guys know anything about Eno, Shakori, or Inori Indians?
I know a little. The Eno, I actually met an Eno lady who came down to visit me. There's a relationship between the Tuscarora and there's a relationship with the Saponi, the Eno, that is. I'm not going to be able to give you a rundown on it because that's just not where I focus, but I know that there's a relationship between them and us. That's about it.
And Old Natural Gal says, this is fire. This sounds like a much needed public service announcement.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Really do.
Chief, can you tell us about your book before you go?
Absolutely. The book is on Amazon. It's called I Am Savage. I did all the editing myself, so I apologize for all the editorial mistakes, and they are in there. I took some constructive criticism from other authors who pointed out things because I want to be better. I'm working on another book. I'm not going to be the one editing this because that's not my skill. Yeah. So the book is called I Am Savage, and I'm surprised that a lot of people didn't take that in a very negative way. And maybe if they read the cover, the inside, maybe that's why they didn't take it as a negative way, because savage was a derogatory term used for us. But savage means savage can be likened to Cimarron, runaway, untamed, doing whatever you have to do to survive, scratching, clawing, whatever it takes to not be genocided out of existence. You have to become savage to deal with a savage. That's what you do. You can't send a cat to fight a tiger. Tiger has to fight a tiger. Jaguar has to fight a jaguar. So that's pretty much what it is. The art is a tassa. A tassa is a type of war club. That's a stick shaped like a sword and used like a sword. When the Spaniards came here and they seen the finesse and the agility, they were shocked. They were shocked at a lot of things they seen, but that was one of the things that really shocked them because they had their metal weapons. We put the stick down, we took their metal weapons, and we used it just as well as they did and better because the motion is transferable. You have a slicing motion and you have impact motion. So we were able to use that the same way. You put the stick down, you pick up the edged weapon, and you go to work doing the same thing. So a TASA is a war club, but a specific type of war club known in the Southeast. And it was a war club that was shaped like a sword, or they call a falchion. It wasn't a ball peen. It didn't have spikes, but you can modify them with oyster shells, with different types of shells, with antlers, and for impact, sharpen flint-knapped rocks and stuff, so to give you that edge to it. So that's pretty much what it is. A good friend of mine, he's Lakota, lives in Charlotte. He's about 5 years, maybe 6 years older than me. He's a retired Navy SEAL, and he's a primitive living expert. And he's a 5th degree black belt as well. So with his background in the military as a Navy SEAL and all the other stuff that he done, he helped me recreate a martial art based off of indigenous concepts. So what I tell people, I didn't find some mystical scroll in a cave of a martial art from some ancient guy in leather, martial artist, and now bam, here I am from this scroll that I discovered. No, this is something that I worked on based off of my knowledge as a martial artist, his knowledge helping me, because my background is in the Filipino martial arts and combatives, is in ninjutsu, is in Kenzanichi karate, and some other background, animal form style kung fu. So I studied the world, and I came up with the Indigenous American concept called La Tasa, using our weapons, just like the Filipinos did when Magellan was over there. They beat them with sticks and with rocks. Sticks and stones broke their bones. They beat Magellan, and killed him. That's where the term leatherneck came from. I don't know, I'm gonna stand up. Got a truck pulling in here, so I apologize for the noise. Can y'all see this
Yes.
form that I'm doing right here?
Yes.
You notice that some of the old boxers, that's how they're standing, almost like they're in a karate stance, right?
Right.
Well, when they were in the Philippines, that's how they were fighting. But the Filipinos was an edged weapon society. They was like this right here, because you got your blades, whether you got it made out of rocks or whatever, you got your blades like this right here. That looks like today's boxing stance. Not this, is this. So you're coming here, you're cutting anything that's coming in at you. They call it defanging a snake. We call it taking alligator's tooth. You're taking their weapons away. Anything that comes at you, you slicing it in the air. So you're disabling that weapon, taking it away from them. So the military, the Marines, they were getting their necks slashed a lot over there in the jungle. So they started putting straps of leather around their neck. You ever heard the term leather neck?
Leather neck. Okay.
Yeah. Protect the necks, because the Filipinos, it was wow. They was doing all kinds of crazy stuff, man. But that's pretty much it. You studied the concepts, and the Seminoles, the Mississippian culture was, and even the Haudenosaunee. A lot of people say Iroquois. That's derogatory. It's really Haudenosaunee, people of the Longhouse.
People on the Longhouse, yeah.
Right.
Yes. So being very skilled in combat, that was second nature. You had to be. Nature, combat, and cosmology was all connected. Balancing the universe. That was all one thing. It wasn't separate. It was about being in harmony with the universe. That's when they did combat. They was having an out of body experience. It was amazing. So yeah, that's in Atasa. I wanted to bring the concept back, study the history, the military records from the United States dealing with the Seminoles, putting all that stuff together. We got Atasa.
Well, that's awesome. I actually have one of your martial arts videos on here, but our
Oh,
time, our time, you explained it perfectly.
Yep.
So
appreciate it.
it's wonderful. I noticed the knives the blades are jagged as well. Wow,
Ye-
that's very
Now,
scary and powerful.
now those particular knives are Filipino. I forget the name of them. One of my teacher from there, his name is Master Villieson, and he came here to Charlotte, spent some time with me, and he left Charlotte, went back to I don't know if y'all remember the Beetleborgs. Y'all remember that show, the Beetleborgs?
Mm-mm.
It's like the Power Rangers, but they're called Beetleborgs. You ever heard of that?
I
No,
no, I know the Power Rangers, but
I
I've
know the
never
Power
heard
Okay.
of that
Rangers.
one.
Uh,
I don't know if it was aired over here or.
yeah, you got to Google it, the Beetleborgs, because I watched it when I was little. But my teacher, he was the green one, so it
Oh,
was pretty.
okay.
Mm,
Yeah, it was
wow.
pretty cool.
The
But
Beetle boards.
yeah, Borgs. He
Mm,
left Charlotte, got on the plane, went back to. He was staying in Texas at the Texas. No, he was in L.A. at the time, and got sick that quick, bacterial meningitis, and lost all of his athleticism and everything. Some of
mm.
his short-term memory
Oh,
to
man.
the point where he had to walk on a walker. I got video of him kicking that up at, and just holding his foot at my face. He looked really like Bruce. He looked like Bruce, you
Mm,
know, and he loved, and one of his skills was Jeet Kune Do, you know, one of the arts that Bruce Lee created.
yep.
Master Irwin was very good at that. That's one of the disciplines that he taught me as well, Jeet Kune Do. And another
Mm,
teacher of mine, um,
Mm-mm.
Keith Baldwin, you know. But anyway, it's really interesting. It's really interesting when you start putting all the pieces together.
mm.
Okay, Chief. Can you tell us the name of your book one more time, and any way that the audience may be able to reach out to you? Any powwows coming up or festivals?
Yeah, in October, uh, without looking at the calendar, I think it's October the 8th, but
Mm-mm.
it's the second Saturday, Indigenous Peoples Day in October. That's when we have our harvest gathering. It's very much like a powwow, but we don't call it that. It's a harvest gathering. That's the harvest month, the harvest moon. It's the harvest gathering. We come there and we socialize, we eat, we dance, we drink, we sing, we talk. Very much like that. We don't do any type of competitions, dance competitions, anything like that. We just come there and fellowship.
Real
Very similar.
unity.
Yeah.
real,
Very
real
similar.
unity, not paid unity.
Yes, ma'am. It's very similar to the Big Drum Powwow up in Rhode Island. When I was up there with Chief Two Hawks and all the other chiefs, Sagamore and everyone, they were just out there gathering and honoring their ancestors and dancing and just loving the culture. And I don't hold nothing against the competitions or anything, and I don't want anyone to interpret it that way. That's just not what we do, you know. And it's more power to whoever does it. I have nothing negative to say about it. It's just not what we do, you know.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Fellowshipping.
Hmm.
Well, it was wonderful talking to you,
Indeed.
and we must do this again. We have a lot to learn from you and
Hmm.
fellowship. My Ukawia, he loved you. Um,
Wow.
he loved you much, and he spoke of you often. And thank you for your kind words during his passing and reaching out to him. I really appreciate that as a council member. And
Yeah.
I hope we all can get together real soon, or you could come back a part two of more history and activities and share with the audience.
Just let me know. I'm all open to it. And Chief Two Bears was my brother, and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
he
he's my
loved
brother.
you.
He still is.
Yeah, he
And
loved you
yeah,
dearly. And I thank you so much, Chief Pierce,
Yeah,
and
yes,
definitely.
ma'am.
Fierce Truth Seeker as well. We really enjoyed this time spending with you.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate both of you. thinking of me enough to give me the opportunity to speak to your audience and trusting me enough to speak to your audience. I appreciate you for that.
Please let me know when you will be redoing your new show so that I can share it and Fierce Truth Seeker can share it on our stations as well.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely will.
And is your book available for purchase now?
Yes, it is. If you go to Amazon and type in "I Am Savage,"
Okay.
and you should be able to pull it up. If you're not pulling it up, also type in my name, Lovell, Lovell Pierce,
Okay.
Pierce, with the combination of the title and the name. You definitely should pull it up.
Okay.
I think
I'll
it's
be
about,
typing that
yeah.
soon.
Okay. And again, I apologize for the errors now. All right.
Enjoy. Okay, everyone. This is Firebird Grey Wolf signing off from Native Voices Turtle Island TV. And we hope to see you real soon. Until
And hit
then,
that thumbs up, the like button.
until then, Donna Honey, Wado, and my Lenape, Little P people, Wanishi, and blessings to everyone. Anigido.
Going to get abre. On.